Hey, Shalawam, Shalawam. Alright, first and foremost, facing the east, giving all praises, honor, and glory be to the Heavenly Father and His Son, Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Wadash. Those are the true names of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Yahawah is the Father's name, that means He is, He exists. Yahawashi is the Son's name, that means He saves, He delivers. And Rakak Kodash is how you say a spirit that's holy. And this is in the Lashawan Kodash, also known as the Paleo-Hebrew or the Ancient Hebrew. Lashawan equals language or tongue. Kodash equals holy, so the holy language. All right. Second of all, double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of the Great Millstone. And Shalawam to the Lord's hopeful elect. It's your brother Urami Kazak back with hopefully another edifying lesson through the spirit, power, and strength of Yahawah Bahasham, Yahawashi Bahasham, Makakadash. And this lesson will be going into OPEC, right, and the UAE leaving OPEC and how that affects the U.S. dollar. Okay. And 1 second. We're going to begin in a minute. I just got to remember how to do certain things. All right, there we go. Okay, now let's go into this article, which we have here. And it reads, United Arab Emirates says it will leave OPEC in blow to oil cartel. Okay. The Gulf government has long complained about the group's quotas, which officials believe unfairly limited its exports. Its departure is expected to weaken OPEC's influence. And this is going to happen on May the 1st. All right, so in a couple of days, they're going to leave OPEC. Right? And that's major, man. You know, because this the petroleum dollar or the petrodollar, right, which is the U.S. dollar, which is making all of this money off of this oil being exported, and these individuals are leaving, and they're a major exporter, then what is that going to do? That's going to weaken the dollar. Reading some more, the United Arab Emirates dealt a major blow to some of the world's biggest oil producers on Tuesday when it announced that it was leaving the OPEC oil cartel that has for decades sought to control global prices and fuel supplies. All right, it was brought right here. Going to the history of the petrodollar. It was established in 1973-1974 as an arrangement where global oil sales are priced exclusively in U.S. dollars, with exporters reinvesting dollar proceeds into U.S. treasuries, originating from a U.S.-Saudi Arabia agreement after the gold standard ended. This system secured the dollar as the world's primary reserve currency. So that brought up the U.S. dollar and made it the main thing, the main dollar to have, you know. So you got a thing called petrocurrency. Let's pull that up. Dollars paid to oil-producing nations, petrodollar recycling, a term invented in the 1970s, as we just read, meaning trading surplus of oil-producing nations. Currencies of oil-producing nations which tend to rise in value against other currencies when the price of oil rises and falls when it falls. Pricing of oil in U.S. dollars, currency used as a unit of account to price oil in the international market, right? So it's important that the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, you know, all these countries continue to push the dollar, because it keeps America at the top. Now, if they neglect it, if they reject it, they fall back, then what's going to happen to America? What's going to happen to the currency of America? It's going to fall. It's going to drop. And what's going to stand in front? You got other currencies out there that's taking place. You got the gold standard that's coming back, right? Which is coming from the BRICS nations. And you also have the yuan, okay, which is with China. So what these other nations is seeing, they're seeing a crack in the armor of America. All right? This is Job 9:24. The earth is given in the hands of the wicked. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? So the earth was given to the wicked. Who is the wicked? We know that to be Esau Edom, the so-called YT man, right? The earth is ran by him right now. It's controlled. So that would mean that his doctrines would be at the top. His philosophy would be spread all over the earth because he's ruling the earth. You know? Now, if his currency is falling, then what's going to fall alongside that? His doctrine, his ways, his understanding. All of that is going to fall with him. Okay? So let's read into this. Going into OPEC. Yes, OPEC significantly affects the U.S. dollar. Right? Though through the petrodollar system, where oil is priced, I'll just pull it back, I'll just read it. Where oil is priced and sold globally in USD by managing oil supplies and prices. OPEC directly influences U.S. inflation, trade balances, and the global demand for dollars. Now, you asking, like, what does that have to do with me? It has everything to do with you. Because as the petrodollar rises and collapses and all of that, and the oil prices in, Middle East and all of that, it affects you because, as it just said, the OPEC directly influences U.S. inflation, trade balances, and the global demand for dollars. While direct, exclusive, or mandatory pricing in dollars is less formal now, the continued use of USD for most oil transactions supports its value and status as the world's primary reserve currency. And what are you seeing? You're seeing a lot of nations go against America because America is supporting Israel, which Israel's on they're doing what they're doing, right? So a lot of nations are condemning America and they're economically attacking America. By what? By buying stuff in yuan. By not supporting OPEC. By taking oil from Iran. By dealing with them versus dealing with anything that would uplift the US dollar. So this is how you collapse and destroy a nation's economy, man. Now going into my OPEC more, the primary competition to OPEC, Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, which is about 11 countries with, what's the name, leaving, the UAE leaving, right? It consists of major non-OPEC oil-producing nations and private big oil companies and the rapidly growing renewable energy sector, all of which challenge its ability to influence global oil prices and supply. When you control global oil prices, you control the trade. You control the balance, the scales, the prices of everything. This is why it matters. This is why it's important. As of April 2026, the competitive landscape is shifting further with the UAE departing from the bloc to pursue independent production goals, right? And that's a blow to them. Now, why would this happen? Because it's prophecy. Let's go to Jeremiah. This is Jeremiah 49:7. Concerning Edom, Thus saith Yahawah of hosts, is wisdom no more in Taman? Is counsel perished from the prudent? Is their wisdom vanished? Flee ye, turn back, dwell deep, O inhabitants of Dedan, for I will bring the calamity of Esau upon him, the time that I will visit him. So the wisdom and the understanding, the power structure of America is collapsing. It used to be where America was untouchable. But now you got a lot of countries rising up and finding ways to bring down the big bad wolf, man. All right? So, as it states in Revelation 17 and 16, man, they're about to burn her with fire. But first, they got to starve her out. Verse 8, flee ye, turn back, dwell deep, O inhabitants of Dedan, for I will bring the calamity of Esau upon him, the time that I will visit him. Who is visiting? Yahawah Bahasham, Yahawashi. If grape gatherers come to thee, would they not leave some gleaning grapes? If thieves by night, they will destroy till they have enough. America hasn't been like that. They didn't leave no grapes behind for anybody. They destroyed, they ate, they took up everything. Right? They left nothing behind. They left no scraps. Verse 10, but I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. This goes into anybody that's aligning with him. The entire planet, right, has committed fornication with him. Let's go to Revelations 18, verse 1. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Now the earth used to what? They used to live off of America. America, you was importing heavily, right? Everybody shipping stuff to America. But recently we seeing nations back off and no longer shipping to America. Nations back off and they don't want to deal with America. Because America is what? It's charging all these tariffs. They're economic, you know, they're not economically appealing to the world anymore. They're causing wars in all these different places. Okay, that's not, you don't want to deal with somebody that's full of drama, full of toxicity, and that's what America is pushing out to the world. All right, the vibration that she's pushing out is not that of a righteous businessman, but is that of someone you want to steer clear because she's being made bare. So the UAE, going back to them, you know, they're recognizing, all right, hey, we need to separate ourselves and distance ourselves from America because this may not be the proper move. All right, they started this war, and then when we got bombed, we got hit, they wouldn't even protect us. So don't you think that has some emotional effect? When you're supposed to defend your allies, but you brought back and took back all your resources and did all that to protect Israel. You didn't protect the people on the front lines. You just let them get hammered, man. You know? It was a recent article came out. Let me look this up. Because once again, the world they're really tired of America. This is on AI Overview. As of August 2025, over 25 countries, including Australia, Germany, France, Japan, and the UK, suspended or restricted parcel shipments in the U.S. due to new tariff policies and the removal of the de minimis exemption. European postal services, like, et cetera, et cetera. All right. Now, that has heightened now. It is heightened in 2026. Okay. Where countries they're avoiding the whore. They're backing away because of the reputation that she has. But remember though, let's read Revelations 18:3 again. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. So it was a time period where you loved her, and you didn't care if she was bringing all this stuff into your country. You didn't care about her doctrine, her philosophies, and the ways. You was getting paid off of her. But now it's ran you rampant, and it's gotten to the point where you can no longer tolerate it. So now you want to back. Your hands are still dirty, okay? And that goes for you individuals as well, man. You know, if you wanna hold on to America and all the way up into the last point, it ain't gonna work like that, right? Verse 4, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and Yahawah have remembered her iniquities. So once again, he remembers everything that happened, that transpired. Right? You want to be going up into those chariots and not being around receiving the plagues that this place is gonna receive, man. That final plague, which we talking about, the ICBM missiles. All right? That's a good one. The brother put that China banned OnlyFans, and Russia did as well. Right? So a lot of nations are coming forth and condemning America. Matter of fact, I got another one because of let's get that. Let me see if I can find it. All right, we can go back to Venezuela and then we can hit some more. Based on reports regarding a 2026 U.S. intervention in Venezuela, multiple nations condemned the U.S. for acts of aggression because, hey, it was an international crime. Okay? That's what it was. It was an international crime. You can't do what America did in Venezuela. All right? The same way that you can't do what they're doing in Cuba. You cannot do these things. The same way that you can't do what they're doing in Iran. Okay? These are international crimes. It's just that America, they can do it. But it does not make it where it's not a crime. It is a crime. Okay? Look at the certain things. Like you see many posts that state that, man. Where America bombed and took out the president of Iran, the supreme leader and all of that, and his family. What if Trump's family got took out? All right? What if all of them got took out? Wouldn't Iran be looked at as a terrorist? But America is looked at as America. Hey, they're just no, that was a terrorist act, man. So America is the biggest, man. I gotta remember I'm not on YouTube. All right. So they condemn the U.S. for acts of aggression, illegal actions, and violating sovereignty. That's what they did. That's what they're doing to all these countries. Every single country that they have invaded, when they settled in America, they violated the sovereignty of the Native Americans and the Mexicans and the Puerto Ricans, which are all Israelites. All right? The Aztecs, the Incas, the Mayans, they all got their sovereignty violated, man. Everybody on this planet has been violated by the YT man. Okay? This is what he does. This is his MO. Everybody does. He does this to everybody. So you're going to see nations distance themselves from the whore. Just how the UAE is distancing themselves from the whore by leaving OPEC. No longer supporting the petroleum dollar as long as, and we got a precept to get to, but as long as as these countries do this and they begin to pull away and back off, then guess what? The dollar is going to fall faster and faster. It's already falling, but it's going to fall quicker and quicker. And that has to happen. All right, let's go to Second Esdras. '15th chapter. And I'll start at verse 28. Behold, an horrible vision and an appearance thereof from the east, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. Okay, so the dragons of Arabia, the Ishmaelites, all right, these nations are what? Are rising up. The UAE separating from America, all right, and doing their own thing is in reference to this prophecy, because they have to separate economically, before they attack militarily. So by seeing Iraq move how they move and they're against Israel, which if you're against Israel, then you're against America. All right, they're aligning with Iran, right? Where the UAE is going to align with Iran. Okay, all those dragons of Arabia, those nations are going to align because they're seeing America for what she truly is. So they're like, nah, we can't be a part of this. You're a liar. You're a crook. All you do is colonize. All you do is take over. And you take what's not yours, man. We got to get Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, right? But let's get a little bit more of this. So verse 29 again. Where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon the earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. So they're going to come fiercely. They're not playing around. It used to be, like we stated earlier, America was something that you couldn't attack. You couldn't go at because they're too strong. They dropped the bomb on, Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and then nobody else could touch them. Everybody was terrified of America, but that fear has withered away. It's gone. It's over, man. Nobody's scared of her anymore. They're seeing her for what she is, and they're saying, all right, enough of us have joined together. Now let's fight. All right? You can't beat us all. That's going to be the mindset of these nations, man, because they're tired. The world is tired of being oppressed by this wicked system. All right? Also the Carmanians, which that's the Iranians, raging in wrath, shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. Who got America throwing out peace treaties? Who has America throwing out ceasefire? Iran. Okay? Nobody really done that before, other than Vietnam, because of the guerrilla warfare. Now, America know if they ever put ground troops in those mountains of Iran, it was going to be a similar case. You was going to get stomped on. You was going to get destroyed, and the little troops that you were sending was not making it back. The numbers that you putting out were deflated. You need to inflate the numbers. You inflating the dollar, inflate the numbers, man. Let us know the true numbers, how many soldiers and casualties you really suffering, right? Because they're coming like that, like wild boars. You can't stop a wild boar. It's just charging. And that's what we're seeing from everything that Iran is sending at them. Okay? So America is not in a position of strength anymore. They're in a position of defense, in a position of vulnerability, in a position of, oh man, we shouldn't have started this. All right? How we going to get out of this? But hey, they have to be exposed. They have to be made bare. All right? Let's read that one more time. Also the Carmanians raging in wrath shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come, and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. So Elam, right, that's the Persians, Iran, and the Ishmaelites, the dragons of Arabia. Okay, these nations will join together. All right. And then shall the dragons have the upper hand. So what? They're going to get one over, remembering their nature. And if they shall turn themselves, conspiring together in great power to persecute them, then these shall be troubled, bled, and keep silence through their power, and shall flee. And from the land of the Assyrians shall the enemy besiege them, and consume some of them, and in their host shall be fear and dread and strife among their kings. The land of the Assyrians is talking about America, right? As we see, let's go back to verse 30 at the end of that. And join battle with them, the Carmanians or the Persians or the Iranians shall join battle with the dragons of Arabia, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians, which once again is talking about the Americans, all right? These Edomites in general, okay? Because Israel is getting that work, okay? And the UK and all these other countries, whenever they so-called step in, they're going to get that work. Now let's transition from that and let's go to Revelation 17. Because what you're seeing is nations are separating and distancing themselves from the U.S. As we seeing over here with the UAE, stepping away from OPEC, that petroleum dollar, that petroleum oil, that's really the strength. That's giving strength to the dollar. But like we stated, as that goes away, the dollar is going away with it, and America is going away with it. Now, what is that leading to? What is that leading to? Digital currency, crypto, just to get you to that MOTB, that mark of the beast, all right, that RFID chip, So it's prophecy for the dollar to fall and collapse. It's prophecy for that currency to be took away and done away with. It needs to happen. So, we need to see more of this. And we are. So let's go to Revelation 17 and start at verse 14. Actually, let's go up a little bit. And I'll start at verse 8. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. All right. And here is the mind which have wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. All right. And this is talking about what? Edomite empires, rulerships. Okay. All right, that's a whole nother lesson. We done went into it. All right, but I'm just summarizing it real quick. This is talking about Edomite rulerships, Edomite empires, such as the British Empire, all right, Rome, all these different times where they ruled, because it is not and yet is. The Roman Empire was took away and now it's back. All right. It was gone for a time period, and then it came back. So it was all prophecy. Understanding that this was written over 2,000 years ago, but it's written with the purpose of already knowing what's going to happen 2,000 years later. You understand? This is the only book that does that. No other book out there does that. It's called a prophecy. So the Most High knows what's going on. He's letting you know, hey, I'm going to bring this empire back. So the Roman Empire, when this was written, we was in the time of the Roman Empire. All right. So he said, hey, this empire is, but it's going to disappear and then it's going to come back. I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to put it back in your face. And that also speaks upon regeneration, reincarnation. All right. Verse 11. Go verse 10. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. Okay, now NATO, the EU, that's what we see. That's what was set up. The North Atlantic Treaty. All right, it was set up, and it's there. That's what you know is the 10 horns. So this thing with America as a part of it, all right, has a very big part of prophecy. These have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. This Edomite kingdom, as we talked about earlier in Job 9 and 24, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. So the earth right now is being ruled by that beast, by these Edomites, by their kingdom, their rulership. This is their world. Okay? You look around, who's controlling, who's ruling everything? Who owns all of Africa? You got France. Okay? They own a lot of it. Who owns Australia? You got Britain. Who used to own all of India? Britain. These are Edomites. Who owns all of South America? The Spanish. That's Spain. These are Edomites. Who owns all of North America? British. All right. Who owns Canada? The French. These are all Edomites. You understand? You got to piece the puzzles together. Who owns all of Europe? The Edomites. Okay? So the Edomites, through whatever their capacity, the French, the British, the Spanish, the Dutch, or the Portuguese, because the Portuguese own Brazil, okay, they took over the planet, you know? So they own the earth. The earth is given into the hands of the wicked. Now America, in that, is the whore of the beast. It's that, the head of it, okay? It's that one. And as the Edomites do, they're what? They're treacherous. They can't be trusted. They're wicked. And they love to fight one another. All right? Bringing us into 14. All these Edomites, right? These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and Kings of kings. And they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. Now, the whore, America, she has what? Over 850 bases. She sits on every single continent on this planet. She has bases on every single continent on this planet. All right? From Asia, Europe, Africa, etc., etc. America is all over via her military strength, her bases. So she sits, the whore that sitteth upon water. She has the biggest navy on the earth, right? So that's what that's speaking into. And the 10 horns, NATO, EU, which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. So NATO is going to what? They're going to begin to hate America, and shall make her desolate and naked, and eat her flesh and burn her with fire. First, to make her desolate and naked is to what? Is to destroy her economically. So America wants to put tariffs out on everybody. Well, it's going to be like that. They're going to throw tariffs out on them. You know? They're going to turn around, and that's going to happen to them. And Britain has already begun to do that. Okay? Russia is already on that. Okay, and Russians are Edomites as well. So what you're going to see is France, Spain, UK, all these nations begin to not align with America anymore because of all the wickedness that she's doing. You're going to see all the allies, not just the UAE or Saudi Arabia or Kuwait or Bahrain and all of them, the dragons of Arabia turn against America, but you're going to see Edomites against Edomites, because a house must be divided. Now, furthermore, they're going to make her desolate and naked, so vulnerable, exposing her, letting you know everything that's going on, right? and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. ICBM missiles, nukes. So the entire world is going to turn and send nukes upon America. From African Hamite nations to the Chinese to the Japanese to actual Edomites, right? Spain, France, Germany, Britain, whatever. They're going to send nukes upon America, right? Everybody's going to burn her. For power have put in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and give their kingdom upon the beast, unto the beast, until the words of power shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. Right? And it's not just talking about one city. Don't think about it like that. America itself as a nation is a city. You live in America, so you're a citizen of America. All right? To be a citizen, you have to live in a city. Now, you have different provinces, different areas or whatever, but it's all one giant city, and it's broken down into 10 FEMA zones. Okay? So that's what America is broken down to. That's why the scriptures talk about the 10th part of the city. Let's go there. This is Revelations 11 and 13. And the same hour was there a great earthquake, and the 10th part of the city fell, and in the earthquake were slain of men 7,000, and the remnant were affrighted, and gave glory to Yahawah of heaven. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. Okay? And that's talking about what? WW3, which is coming, which we just described. Because in WW3, you're going to have all these nations turning and burning America. Right? So the 10th part of the city is going to fall. It's going to shake. And at that same time, you're going to have Yahawashi, our king, come back and redeem and save those that are in America, his elect. Meaning the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans that believe upon him. Okay, that's who's going to be pulled up out of there, because you could read 12. And they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, come up hither, and they ascended up to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them. Right? So, being beamed up, going into chariots, so-called UFOs, which are really just the chariots of the Lord, right? Which also are referred to as clouds, all right? You know, see, man, that's all much. That's pretty much it. I'll read this article a little bit, all right? So, the UAE announced Tuesday it would leave OPEC, effective on May 1st. OPEC, or the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, sets oil production targets to maintain global supply and prices. The UAE's exit comes after rumors of the country leaving due to oil production quotas that are too low, according to the Associated Press. So they're being cut short, and that's what they feel. They're not making enough. America is limiting them from what they could really be doing, right? Because that's what America does. They keep you in a box, okay? And you have to abide by their rules. The same as it is in NATO, man. If you don't agree with America and NATO, then you're a target. You know, they'll do something to your country or whatever. And that's how America moves, man. If you don't agree with them, then it's going to be chaos in your country, etc., etc. Okay? The exit also comes as rising global oil prices have contributed to record surges in gas prices, jet fuel, and more in the U.S. What company is going out of business? Spirit Airlines. Right? They said that jet fuel too high. Now, who rides a lot of Spirit? That's the Spirit. That Spirit is going out because Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi is trying to tell you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans to sit your ass down. Okay? This is not the time to be moving around and flying from place to place. All right? So you need to sit down and get in the Spirit, stay in the Spirit, read, grow, you know, and eat this spiritual food, man. Okay? So what is this also going to do because the UAE is leaving OPEC? it's gonna what? It's gonna raise gas prices. All right. As the petroleum dollar falls, gas prices is gonna go up. You know, and these so-called, you know, these conflicts and disputes, which straits are being blocked and all of that, is gonna raise gas prices, and it's also gonna raise trade goods, as we've been talking about, you know, for years. Okay, inflation leads to hyperinflation, especially in Jacob's trouble. It says what goods shall be. Let's get that. This is Revelation 6 and 5. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, "Come and see." And I beheld, and lo, a black horse. And he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, "A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine." Now, what does this mean? This means stuff is going to cost a penny? No. A penny is referring to a day's wage. Because back in the day, during this point in time, you have to know the time frame. You would get paid basically a coin. Okay? And that would be a day's wage. All right? So it's referring to a day's wage. Let's say you make $200 a day. Then bread is going to cost like $200. It's going to cost your day's wage. That's how high stuff is going to be. And we call that there hyperinflation. All right? That's what's going to happen. Hyperinflation is coming to this place. Okay? So you know how it is when the hurricanes come and they charging, you know, they run the gas prices up $8, $9, $10. That's going to be common. Bottle of water, $100 for a 25 pack, 24 pack. That's going to be common. It's going to be common practice. Bread, right? $20. Eggs, $20. It's going to be common practice. Okay? So once again, man, and I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, "A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine." Okay? So hyperinflation is coming to this place. Without a cap on oil production, the UAE could increase production and assist with lower oil prices after the war in Iran, the AP reports, but could increase market vitality. OPEC was founded in 1960 with 5 countries: Iran, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and Venezuela. The move, effective May 1, brings the total number of active member countries to 11. All right? I'll get that for you, Ak. Ezekiel 7 and 19. So, you know, it's economic wars before real wars. That's always going to happen. It's Ezekiel 7 and 19. "They shall cast their silver in the streets, and their gold shall be removed. Their silver and their gold shall not be able to deliver them in the day of the wrath of Yahawah. Bahasham Yahawashi, they shall not satisfy their souls, neither fill their bowels, because it is the stumbling block of their iniquity." So your money cannot save you. Your cryptocurrency cannot save you. No matter how much you make, all that right there, that's not going to save you. That's not going to get you through in these times that we're entering into. All right? What can save you, man? You working out your own salvation with fear and trembling, trusting and believing upon Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi, knowing the doctrine, knowing that new song, right? Which is really new, is kainos in the Greek. It just means refreshed. So knowing that song of Moses, right? And singing that song, which is the doctrine, the understanding, right? Keeping the faith and your works, right? So this is important that you maintain yourself and you stay prayed up and you stay in this truth and you continue to call upon the true names of Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi, right? And seek after him in spirit and in truth, you know. See, man, that's pretty much it, though. All right. This oil and all of that, it's gonna hit, and like we just stated, oil affects everything. Okay, these straits affect everything. Okay. Yeah, I ain't got nothing else. Yeah, we'll end it right there. All right. So, hey, with that being said, giving all praises, honor, and glory be to Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Akakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of the great millstone, which rule well and teach well and sincerely taught us this truth. And Shalawam to the Lord's hopeful elect. Pray this was an edifying lesson. Kwam Yasharahla and a Bible ball. Shalawam. Shalom.